Good afternoon, football fans, and welcome to another edition of Sports Talk with Rags here in season 4, episode 44. And today, here we are honored here to have a Monarch alum and current JV football head coach for Western Branch, Robbie Duncan. And with Robbie being a Monarch alum, we got here a little Monarch Monday here on Sports Talk with Rags. Robbie, how you doing today?
Doing great, Rags. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Sure, no problem. Doing great. Can't believe it's Monday, July 22nd, and all all levels of football about ready to officially start practice here with being the last full week of July.
Yeah, it's here. We got one more week, and then we're off and kicking off training camp next week.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I for all the listeners out there, I did say the last full week here this week because I know that August 1st is you know next Thursday, I
Hmm.
think. So boy, the summer is just flying by, and there with high school football. I mean, it is on the level of college and pro. It seems like that you never get an off season and people, whether it's, weightlifting or just updates. I mean, high school football is a strong following like college and pro, they still follow it during the off season.
Yeah, we typically kick things off in the middle, late January, early February for the off season stuff, and we go 3 days a week. During the school, it's about 2 hours length, and then once summer gets here, we kick off our summer lifting conditioning portion, and that's a more longer window of when we have them for at about 8 to 12 p.m. And we work lifting, conditioning, and we get a little install work when we have the time for it. But the focus is lifting, conditioning during that period.
Right. Yeah, and for those that, don't play another sport, there during the school year, but like the introduction, I mean, this football season, I mean, you have a new assignment here for Bruin football with being head coach of the JV program.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And kudos to Coach Charles Thomas, who ran the JV side of things prior to me, and he did a tremendous job. He did so much more than people realize behind the scenes, along with just coaching the JV. So some big shoes to fill, but I am prepared and excited to get to work, and couldn't ask for a better head coach to work with than Rashad Cook. And he's a tremendous leader, and he's a great mentor, and he wants to uplift and empower his coaches to do what they need to do to help the program build. And I think this is one of those steps, and it's going to be very exciting. I mean, I'm very excited.
Yeah, and the one thing that I've, with mainly working with baseball there from 14 to 18, and then here working with football here since Rashad has led the varsity program. I mean, one thing that I do see, and I'm sure Charles, did the same thing with going with basketball, but it does seem like that, JV programs, kind of there at Western Branch, kind of practice here there with the varsity.
Mhm.
So you're one program.
Yeah, we're one program, and each position is coached by their one coach.
Yeah.
There's not two different staffs. There's not a JV staff and a varsity staff. The receivers coach coaches all receivers, no matter what grade. Same for offensive line with me. That we like to keep that consistent so that they're getting the same coaching all 4 years, and I think that pays off in the long run with their development. So we try to keep it like that. And when it comes to Thursday nights, it may be my show, but they're still getting coached by the varsity coaches at the same time. Um, and nothing really changes. It's just the JV kids in that regard compared to varsity on Friday nights.
Yeah, and the thing is, I mean, we're gonna talk about when you were an offensive lineman, especially with number 57 jersey hanging on the wall, but that'll be
Yeah.
later on in the program.
All
But
right.
you talk about teaching and coaching the offensive line here just a second ago. I mean, prior to you being head coach here of JV football, I mean, you have been part of Coach Cook's staff here the last few years with
Mhm.
being offensive line coach for the
Yep.
varsity.
Yep. I've been with Cook since day one. About 2 weeks after he hired, I reached out to not him directly, but to who my connections that maybe I think it was Mark Didwick at the time. I had a relative that knows Mark Didwick pretty well, and Didwick forwarded my information, and me and Cook connected after that. And I mean, that first phone call, we talked for a long time, and you could tell it was a great match, and it worked out perfectly. Fun fact: originally, I was going to be the D line coach
Oh,
before offensive line. We had someone lined up at the time for offensive line, but then it didn't work out, and then I was shifted over to offensive line. But I love coaching the offensive line. It's very tough. It's a very what people don't realize. It's a very nuanced position, and you have five guys trying to work together to get it to work as one unit, and
right.
um, it's more than just block left, block right. It's you got to take proper first steps. Your hand placement's got to be right. Your head placement's got to be right. Leverage, all that stuff. Calls, identifying fronts, blitzes, all this stuff. There's so much that goes into playing the offensive line, and it's so much fun when you really kind of take pride in it and realize what goes into it. Some kids are a little more reluctant to play line, at least, especially in the early stages, like high school. They want to play tight end or
Right.
linebacker or something. But when they really kind of buckle down and realize how much they contribute to the full operation, how important an offensive line is to the success of a team, then I think they really start to buy in, and it pays off with how they approach it. And we're getting that now with our returning starters this year for varsity, especially. We have some young guys that were kind of thrown into the fire due to what we had available, and they had the talent to do it as well, but they didn't have the experience. So that was a bit of a trial by fire for them. But now it's benefited them in the long run too. So I think we're going to see a young line this year, but that is a lot more seasoned than their age shows, and it's going to pay off for our team this year and getting our offense going.
Yeah, and the thing, you bring up a good point there with offensive line. I mean, when you see the highlights there on Friday nights of the
Mhm.
local news, or there with Jamie Frankenberry or Larry Rabamba, covering their 757 teams. I mean, they talk about who the leading rusher is, who's the leading passer, but the quarterback doesn't get the time, or the running back doesn't have the holes unless the offensive line is there doing their job.
Yep, they got to do their job, and it pays. It goes both ways too. Sometimes sacks can be a quarterback thing. Sometimes sacks are an offensive line thing. It's all about complementary football. The offensive line's got to do their job. They got to give the quarterback the time they need to get the throws made, and quarterbacks also got to do their job in getting the ball out on time when the throws are there to be made. So it all works together. They're all cogs in a machine that gets that machine going. So that's the cool part about offense or football in general is it's just there's so much going on. So many guys have to do their one job to make everything work. And if that one guy isn't doing it, 10 out of 11, you're going to have some bad plays here and there.
Right. Yeah, well, and the other thing is so with being JV, I mean, with official practice right around the corner,
Mhm.
and then the scrimmages. Now, will the scrimmages be like wherever varsity plays, and then like JV first, or does JV have their own scrimmages?
The idea right now is that they will be scrimmaging the same teams the varsity is scrimmaging. When and
Oh,
how is, I think, still being worked out, but um, we should be scrimmaging Salem and Cox sequentially. So Salem's first, and then Cox after that, the week after.
okay. And then when the regular season comes for JV, I mean, you did say play Thursday nights, and I think
Hmm.
it's roughly about 6 o'clock.
Yep.
That's kickoff. But pretty much JV doesn't start playing games until schools in schools in session, right? Or do you guys start like a week before school starts?
We just like varsity. We have a game before the school starts. We have
Okay.
Menchville week one,
Okay.
and we're working out getting all that settled and ready to go. And once camp starts, we'll know more of what we got, and
All right.
it should be a fun team though. We usually have a very strong JV unit, and I don't think this year is going to be any different.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm showing my age. I mean, I definitely remember when there was just one feeder school into the high school, but nowadays, there's two um middle school programs that feed into Western Branch. And
Hmm.
I know that Jolliffe has had recent, coaching changes here the last couple of years, but I know that they've done well in the past. And then Western Branch Middle has definitely had a good program. So do you see some incoming freshmen here to be part of Western Branch JV?
Yeah, I think even with JV, some JV teams are lower in numbers than others, and I think the benefit we have is that we don't have that problem.
Right.
Um, I think we're definitely going to have a lot of depth, and I think we're getting some very good talent from both schools, and um, we're excited about that, and making sure we got them all in the right place where they're supposed to play. That's going to be up to us, and it's all exciting though, because again, we have so many kids coming from both schools, and
Right.
it's a good problem to have to sort through
Right.
all that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Other
you
schools
know,
don't have that luxury, I guess.
yeah, yeah, and I think with doing the something brewing with Coach Cook. I
Hmm.
mean, I remember one week a couple years ago that JV had an off week because there was one school that didn't have enough
Yep.
numbers to have a JV program.
Yeah, we got to sort through that stuff, and that comes down to us as a staff, and working with the athletic director and their other schools' athletic directors to make that change if that situation arises.
Yeah.
Um, we do have some things we're going to sort through for the early couple weeks, but that's uh, that's kind of behind the scenes stuff that we'll do, and that stuff will come out when it gets closer.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And and then also, so that's high school, but
Mhm.
there with your 57 jersey there on the wall, and with it being Monarch Monday, I mean, just kind of refresh the listeners here with your experience of being part of Monarch football.
Okay, so I played high school ball at Sterling, Virginia, for Parkview High School, and that's where I came out of to go to ODU. And
Yeah.
I wasn't as highly recruited as I would have liked coming out. A lot of D3 schools wanted me, and they were great schools, great programs. Randolph Macon was a big one. Bridgewater, Christopher Newport was another. Um, but I knew I wanted to play D1. I knew I was capable of it, and ODU starting their brand new program at the
Yeah.
time was a golden opportunity, and I kind of recruited myself to them. Coach Wilder and Coach Scott, the offensive coordinator and O line coach, were my main contacts before I got there, and they liked what they saw, and they offered me a preferred walk on, and that's how I got there. And that year of 2008, the fall of 2008, was pretty much all of us were redshirted and
Yeah.
went through the grind that year.
Right.
We came out ready for 2009 though because of it. It was a tough fall and winter because of there's a lot of guys to sort through as well. A lot of guys that probably shouldn't have been there that needed to be weeded out, and they made it hard on us to see who would stay, who could stick through it, and who couldn't. And a lot of people backed out, but it was awesome. We were so we knew we were talented, but I don't think we realized how good we were until things started kicking off, like Shawan,
Yeah.
and those we started going that run. We were very competitive right out the get go, and that's a credit to Coach Wilder and the staff. I mean, they put us together and got us going, and then I think we kind of did the rest as a team, and they instilled a toughness mentality in us. The offensive line we were nasty, especially in the early stages. There were some
Right.
guys like Brian Jensen, Brian Morrison, Tobin Cameron, Jeremy Hensley. We were nasty. They I think we probably should have been flagged for more unnecessary roughness plays than we got away with.
Right.
But yeah, so I was with that first team through 2012. I got to play with Taylor Heineke, which was, at the time, he was great. He was amazing.
Right.
But
Yeah.
now after the fact, it's even cooler
Yeah.
because he's been doing what he's done in the NFL, and it's so surreal to see all that. And him and Rick Lovato and others that made it to the pros. Really, that fall 2008, if you told us those of us would have made it to the pros, it just seemed like a dream at that point, like
Right.
not reality.
Yeah.
But we made it, and the rest is history. It was such a great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything. We had such a great crowd every home game.
Right.
I mean, the fans were amazing and roaring every game, no matter who we played. It could have been Virginia Union, no one, they showed up and they were loud, and it was incredible. More than I
Yeah.
could have asked
Well,
for.
and the other thing is, I mean, with Old Dominion, when I moved here in '87, one of the first classmates that I met was a cousin of your dad's,
Mhm.
Kevin.
Yep.
Kevin and I grew up together, and then Elizabeth and I, over the years, I mean, definitely remember when your aunt, on your mom's side, Mimi, saying how you were part of Monarch football, but also with your family, not only ODU alums, but then on your mom's side, your granddad being part of Monarch basketball. That must have been also continuing the tradition of being a student athlete there with
Mhm.
Monarch athletics.
Yeah, and that was definitely part of the reason why I chose to go to ODU as a walk on.
Right.
I could have gone to any of the other D3 schools that were very good schools, and it could have been different. But playing at the same school that my grandfather was a Hall of Famer at was, I mean, a no
Right.
brainer, no brainer. I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, and with having Bobby Wilder on, and I think Ron Wickham is helping me on trying to connect Taylor and I, but
Hmm.
it's with training camp right around the corner. That might not be till the off season, but
Sure.
then having Jonathan come on, recently, and not only one of your other teammates, but also somebody that was there starting 2008. I mean, that must have been kind of strange of being a college football player, but that very first year, everybody's redshirting, and it's just practice, off-season workouts, no games for another year.
Yeah, you don't have that situation very often. I mean,
Right.
new programs don't start like that every other year. It's rare, and that was definitely not what I it was not what I expected going into it, but it was, it made us better in the long run because of it. We were more prepared for that first season than we could have been in. Like, it was like an extended training camp essentially.
Right.
We were going through fall, through winter, and then spring ball. then training camp began, all that getting us ready for 2009, and it paid off. It really had us on a good starting point.
Yeah, and the thing is with college athletics, technology, these mid-major conferences having weeknight games to showcase, the mid-major schools. I mean, even though you were part of Old Dominion football when it started, and when they were at the FCS level, but probably to go back and or then since you're involved with coaching high school football, but seeing ODU there on a Thursday night, on a Friday night, it's probably not only to be an alum of the school but an alum of the football program and see where it's at now.
Yeah, us, the group that started the program that year, we feel pretty strong about how we helped set all that up.
Right.
Not to brag or pat ourselves on the back, but we wouldn't be in this situation right now where we're Sunbelt. That's crazy. Like
Right.
that's huge. What's even crazier to me is that it's the same, almost all the same schools that we played at
Right.
in the 1AA level that's in our conference, which makes it even better because now the rivalries are back. Games that matter, games that we care about are now what we're lining up to see again. Georgia Southern,
Right.
that's a big one right there.
Yeah,
Getting
that's
to
the
play them
one for all
again.
those listeners we
Oh
couldn't get
God.
past in the FCS playoffs.
Oh man. That triple option.
But and actually that's gonna be a home Thursday night game. So
Yeah.
that should be exciting. And looking at this year's home schedule, I mean to start off it's on the road, but to start off in South Carolina and then the first home game being East Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, you tell us that we'd be playing South Carolina in 2008 before we
Right.
play Shawan.
Right.
Like in a few years, you guys will be playing South Carolina and Virginia Tech and all these other big programs. Again, it sounds like a dream. Like, yeah, okay. And
Right.
but it's amazing. It's
Right.
so cool that what the success that we had so early paved the way for all that, and it's very exciting. I'm really looking forward to what Coach Ronnie and his staff is doing, and I do think they're building something special. They're good people. I've talked with him and the rest of the staff. They care about their players. It's more than just the bunch of kids coming to play college football. They definitely care about their players, and um, they're trying to get them in the best situation and put them in the right situations to be successful. And I hope and root for all the success in the world for them.
Right. So even with, having your own family and being part of a high school football program with being an alum, you still
Hold on.
connect with the
Shh.
program or take some high school kids to big man big man camp there at Old Dominion.
I'm sorry. Say that one more time. My dog was barking at me.
Oh no, I was just saying that with being part of a high school football program, having your own family, there's still an opportunity with being an alum on taking kids for recruit visits or offensive line camps there at Old Dominion since you're an alum of the program.
Yes, and they were very very good about relations with the vets. They give us free home game ticket for every
Oh,
season past couple times. I haven't always been able to go to every home game, but
right,
they do give us that option to redeem a home ticket.
right.
Um, and it's amazing. That's a great offer. Um, and I sorry, I got someone messaging me real quick. It's are we gonna be able to edit any of this?
All right, so here we are with Robbie Duncan and Monarch alum, and we were talking about here the alumni relations here with, since you're involved with a high school football program, taking offensive linemen to offensive line camp
Mhm.
and other things that with being part of ODU football yourself.
Yeah, they're very good about that. They're very appreciative of what we did, and they recognize that, which is awesome. I mean, especially considering that they're not even affiliated with us, right? They're brand new staff. They
Yeah.
have no real true connection to us besides that they are the new coaches there. But they do a great job of doing that. They past couple of years have offered a free season ticket for alumni to redeem, and if we want to buy more tickets to add to our ticket, then that
Okay.
that offer is also on the table to bring family. I try to go to at least one, but with our football in high school, it's not always
Right.
easy to go. But we definitely appreciate the offer and try to take it up on it as much as we can. Sorry,
Right.
here's my baby girl. This is
So
my.
no, I appreciate you coming on,
That's okay.
Robbie, and I know with your connection there with being a student athlete when ODU football started, and then with giving back here with Western Branch, I know that things are exciting here
Mhm.
with, especially with leading the JV program this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. The kids are excited to get going again this year, and I think a lot of the returning kids had they thought we should have been better than we were, even though had a great season.
Right.
We want to they want to win every game, and that
Yeah.
I love the competitive spirit that they show with that. Um, but yeah, we're going to keep things the same as varsity. Try to keep everything consistent so that when they do make it to varsity, it's all the same.
Right.
Me and Coach Cook are very on the same page with that. Um, there may be a few variations here and there just to make sure kids are you put in the best position they can be.
Right.
But mostly all the same plays, same calls, everything, so that they're learning the system like they need to, so they're ready for varsity.
Yes. Well, hey, Robbie, I know that you've been out there, during the off season, and
Hmm.
then just here around the corner, everything will get kicked off officially. So have a great rest of the summer, and see you around town there at a football game.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me again.
Sure thing. And so that was Robbie Duncan here with head JV football coach and former Monarch football player. Thanks again, Robbie.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. Bye bye.